Hi there, everyone. We're here at the International Schools Festival put on by the South China Morning Post. I'm sat here with Max Michelson, who is the Education Tech Coordinator at the Harbour School, Hong Kong. So, Max, we're here to talk about technology, particularly how technology can impact the educational experience for children. At the Harbour School, Hong Kong, there's been a program that you guys have that's gotten some recognition called Tools, Not Toys. Could you explain what the program is and how it works?
Well, basically, Tools Not Toys is the program we use to help monitor and guide students in their use of technology at THS. We found that with the program, we are able to sort of give them guidelines on how to kind of continue to learn how to be digital citizens in a way, and also how to sort of know what they can do and what they can't do with their computer. Because essentially a computer is a tool, and it has access to absolutely everything on the internet, and it's really hard to limit, especially to a kid that gets it for the first time and has never used it. They want to touch absolutely everything. But we also want to be able to empower the students. So by creating a program that kind of, a leveled program that kind of guides them and rewards them for behaving on their computer, it really helps.
And so how does that work?
Well, that we start giving kids computers in grade 3, and it starts with kind of a lockdown system where it's basically your computer stays at school. You have access to it only during class when the teacher says so, and there are limited programs you can use. As you do better in that grade, or as you follow the guidelines, which for instance are listening to the teacher, closing the computer the first time, not dropping it, which is probably the hardest one for those kids, and other things, you start to gain levels. So once you get to level 3, you are able to take your computer home on weekends, which is huge for them. And then once you get to level 6, you have free reign of your computer.
So how was this program developed? Could you describe like what the genesis of it was? When did it begin? How long ago was this? I know you've helped develop the program a little bit, if I am correct about that. Could you just describe the genesis of it, what you talk about behind the scenes and how you developed this program?
Well, I've been at the Harbour School 12 years, so in the first couple of years, we didn't have any real technology program at the time. We had access to some smart boards, Prometheans, and stuff like that. And a lot of stuff was done on paper. As we noticed, the digital age started coming, and kids needed access to laptops to access different programs and curriculum we were doing. And in the beginning, I guess we did try to monitor it ourselves and say, oh, you can't do that, you can't do that. But we found that wasn't working. Students were kind of looking at us like, this is mine, you're taking this away from me. You're just saying no to me without actually giving me anything for it. You've given me all this power and you're just not letting me play with it. So we had to find a way to basically let the students feel empowered and let them take ownership with their own responsibilities.
Right, so I know you mentioned they reach a certain point and they're able to take their computer home. What happens then? What does that look like? I mean, they bring the computer home, but on the weekend, are they able to then just play games on it? I mean, what are the capabilities and what are they doing at home with the computer?
Well, we do have a student monitoring system on it called Q Studio, which protects the younger students from up to, I believe, end of middle school, which protects the younger students from accessing dangerous things on the internet. But when they do take it home, it is kind of up to the parents. We do also send the Tools Not Toys thing to the parents so they have a guideline, but realistically it'd be impossible to monitor the kids 24/7.
So there's no blocks on the computer as far as, I don't know, if they want to go play Minecraft or something, they can do that, or?
No, Q Studio, we can block certain programs.
I see.
So
Okay.
we can also see if they're accessing it during class, which is why they hate that program so much. So if we see a lot of action on that, we'll block that program.
So I'm curious if, the feedback that you get from parents on this in general? Obviously, you know, a lot of parents sometimes have concerns around the amount of screen time that their children have. Have you ever gotten feedback that you're encouraging more screen time than parents would want them to have, or you know, the opposite side? Do parents really enjoy the fact that maybe they don't have to buy their kid a computer; their kid can just bring it home with them?
Well, before virtual school happened, there were a couple times where parents were like, we need to be able to limit screen time. I miss the time of handwriting. I miss the time of doing this. I miss that time. But after virtual school, that kind of all just upended. It's impossible to avoid screen time in this day and age. What we can do is make it useful screen time and limit the amount of excess screen time. So for example, excess screen time would be, the easiest example would be that Google game with that dinosaur. When you hit a dead page, you click spacebar. That would be useless time.
Sure.
But a lot of kids are using it as there's library functions, so they can read books from different museums. They can also explore different websites to learn about different things. And I think, yeah, that really helps.
Sure. So you mentioned earlier about digital citizens. What is that? What's a digital citizen?
Well, a lot of people say it's about behavior. That's one part of it. So it's basically how to behave on the computer, how to not act on your basic, not act on just your instinct. So is this website safe? Should I go to this website? Am I allowed on this website? Is this a website appropriate content for me? But it's also being able to use a computer appropriately. So for example, we all use Google Suite in some way, shape, or form. So it's also knowing what programs you need to use in order to further your learning, right? So that's what we do try and teach at the Harbour School. We introduce programs so that kids themselves can go, oh, I could use this for this project. I could use this for this project.
Oh, interesting. Are there any, I don't know, an example you could give then, how you teach digital citizenry?
At first we start by saying, with the younger ones especially, we go, what do you think a bad website is? And you get very innocent answers, which is really, really nice. And then you basically go to the beginning. And then with the older kids, you ask, why would you want to go on that website? What makes you want to do that? What do you think that would do to help you? So basically putting it back to them. And at the end of the day, we know they can go on any website they want. I mean, the amount of devices they have, but at least we're trying to instill the idea that there's stuff out there that you shouldn't be looking at, that you're not ready for. Maybe wait a little bit.
Right, that's great. So just looking back, you know, in the past year and a half or so, you know, when COVID-19 first came down, obviously everyone, you know, went virtual, had to do online classes. I assume obviously this was kind of a crash course, especially for younger kids and, you know, virtual learning. Could you just describe a little bit about what your school did with the virtual classroom?
Well, I feel the first week was absolute panic for everybody. So nothing went right. And then slowly it evolved. So we call our virtual system VCAT. And we kept emailing parents. We say, we've got Google Classroom. We actually had everything and knew everything ready. We just had to train people on it. So we gave crash courses. We gave kids Google Meets. I mean, it was complete trial and error at the beginning. Kids would not listen. I mean, it's really hard to listen to a teacher on a screen, so you had to find ways to make them more interested, right? Instead of maybe saying, like our PE team did a great job with that. They basically, instead of, because people were stuck at home and they didn't know what people's situation were, they could have been in a hotel, they could have been at home. One of the games they played was find a color. So they'd have to bring back as many red things as they could from wherever they were. I mean, it had to be completely inventive. As we got better and better, and as Google started catching up, because they had to catch up as well, it became more streamlined with Google Classroom assignments, and everything sort of just fell into place.
Right. So if I may ask, what lessons would you say you learned yourself, but also just generally the staff at the Harbour School Hong Kong after implementing all of these things? Obviously, online learning has somewhat gone away. You know, maybe it could come back next week. You never know.
Yeah.
But are there lessons learned from that actually you've been able to implement in the way that you teach live and in person now?
Basically, we still use Google Classroom for assignments. So it showed us a way that kids can turn in stuff. So they got so used to turning stuff in online as evidence that we just kept that going as well. For our sick kids, we still use Google Meet. So if a kid's sick or in quarantine, our teachers are able to have the screen right there with the kids there on the Google Meet as well as teach. So we're kind of teaching in a hybrid kind of way right now. So it's kind of made sure that kids that are sick aren't missing out or missing it, don't feel like they have to catch up.
Right. I just have one final question. We've been talking a lot about, obviously, students, which is the point of this, but I also imagine over the past year and a half, it's had to make teachers, again, the staff you work with, and as well as parents, become a little bit more technologically literate as well. Could you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, well, definitely. In the beginning, there were a lot of emails going, how do we do this? How do we do this? Oh my gosh, I pressed the wrong button.
Right.
Shut down the Meet call. My mom restarted my computer. But it really made parents pay attention to what kids were learning as well. Because Hong Kong apartments, although some can be big, aren't very big.
Yeah.
Everybody can hear everything you're saying. So parents were actually taking more interest in what their kids were learning, asking how to do things, especially the younger ones. The parents had to set up everything for them so that they were there, and when the work came out, the parent would come and help. It really made parents take a hands-on approach.
Certainly.
Teachers, it was a little bit harder because everybody was in different places, but I mean, a teacher adapts. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, that's what they are hired to do.
Right.
Adapt to absolutely anything. Yes, everybody says the first 2 weeks of school, first 2 weeks of any program, probably going to be the worst, but they adapt, they overcome, and they learn.
Right. Well, Max Michelson with the Harbour School, Hong Kong, thank you so much for sharing and sitting down and answering these questions. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.